Hello everyone and welcome to the RESILIFE Tea Talk. Here I have with me two very amazing speakers for tonight. Just to remind everyone that this program is a part of the RESILIFE team from King's College London, a university here in the UK. The aim of our program is to keep company and to be a support for all the students that are still living in residences. And now, of course, because of the COVID situation, some of them are looking from different countries, but of course, that's the aim of our program as well. So we welcome everyone from every part of the world. We have had speakers also very international, and that's the aim as well. We have had talks in the past about sex education, gender, Black Lives Matter, the LGBT plus community, staying active during lockdown, also mental health and body positivity amongst others. And tonight we will have till 9 p.m. Ellie Simmonds. We are going to hear a little bit more about her very soon. But just to remind everyone, either on Instagram, on Facebook, or on Zoom, that we welcome all of your questions and comments. If you're on Zoom, there is here down a section called Q&A. So you can ask your questions. You can directly direct it to me or also to Ellie and Billy. On Instagram Live, you can also, of course, type your questions and I'm going to be sharing them with them. And on Facebook, the same. In this moment, you're not going to be able to share your screen, but we welcome all your participation through the chat as well. So welcome, Ellie. Welcome, Billy. Thank you so much for being here. Like I mentioned, I would really love if one of you introduces the other and we can go from there as well.
Yeah, so who do you want to start? Thank you very much, Franny, for having us chat with you tonight. It's been really nice, and especially something like this for all the residents of King's. We actually, we come to your gym in the Strand 3 times a week. Not at the moment due to the pandemic, but beforehand training into Tokyo, what was going to be Tokyo 2020. And I think we've been at the gym working with Andy actually now for about just over 2 years. So 2 years we've been going to the gym in the Strand. So we very much feel part of the King's family. And
you're part of the King's community for sure. Yeah.
We're really lucky that's how the connection and how this went about, because being part of that group and being able to train at the amazing gym in the Strand, which is, I think it opened in sometime in October, maybe last year, I can't remember now, but it's a beautiful gym and it's amazing to be part of. And yeah, so me and Billy train there, but also we train at the London Aquatic Centre in Stratford too, and we both live in London, so it's really nice. But shall I introduce Billy or shall Billy introduce me? Which one do you want to go for? Shall I introduce you, Bill, while I'm talking?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Ellie Simmonds, but also you see me as an athlete, as a swimmer. I've been going for many years now for Beijing, London and Rio, but it's not just me as an athlete. I have a big support group around me, and one of my main support systems is, and what drives me and who helps me achieve those Paralympic successes, the World Champ successes, is my coach, Billy Pye. We're a bit of a sidekick, really. We're a bit of we are a team. We are a double team. Once you see one of us, you see the other. And Billy is a Paralympic coach. He's a professional coach. He's one of the best coaches in the country. And I'm not just saying that because he's my coach, but he's got the best knowledge of Paralympic sport, and he's gone to many Paralympic games. And actually, his first, I think your first games was in Athens 2004 Paralympics, but London 2012, you went to that games as a coach and as a coaching member of the Paralympic team. But I think you came away with 12 gold medals as a coach. And after that success, you were awarded an MBE from the Queen for your for the coaching in Paris, plus London, and hopefully, yeah, you've been to many games, but also you're an incredible coach, and not just a coach. You've got a pretty good story as well, because before coaching you were a minor, and that's pretty amazing. And the history of from how you went in mining in the Welsh Valleys where you're from to being a world-class coach on the coaching scene as a swimming coach now. Plus, you're not just a coach, but also you're one of the happiest chappies I've ever met. There's never a day whereby I go by where you're grumpy. And if you're grumpy, it's probably because you're tired and you haven't had your cup of tea or coffee. But majority of the time, you're very happy. Yeah. So this is the guy really that is behind it all. You see me in the pool, but he's the driving force of everything. And I wouldn't have been able to achieve what I've achieved now without him.
What a lovely description.
Yes, that's
I'm really happy that you have this type of relationship with your coach. And I was wondering, how long have you been working with him?
So my first World Championships was 2006 in Durban, and it was from there really. I was based in Birmingham, and he was based in Swansea, which was our high performance centre at that time. And I was wanting the next phase in my career, in the next chapter in my training, and I just connected with Billy. We clicked straight away in Durban. And then I moved in 2007 to Swansea from my parents' home in Birmingham, which is about 3 hours away. Me and my mum moved school, but also to a new location in Swansea to train with Billy. So I'll say since I was 12, really. So now I'm 25. So many, many years. So we know each other literally from inside out, we know everything about each other, and he's not just a great coach, but he's one of my best friends too, and we always are chatting, always got something to talk about.
That sounds amazing, and especially because you need to work together lots of hours, so to have a very good relationship between your coach and, like you said, your friend, I believe is a very important part of your whole journey as well. And I have like a million questions for Billy, but my first question before you introduce Ellie is, why did you decide to start coaching for the Paralympian team? And is only swimming, or do you cover other sports as well?
I think from my point of view, like Ellie said, I left school at a young age, loved sport, didn't do my exams because I had a job lined up. But then worked in the factory for 12 months in the local village. That closed. Oh, what am I going to do now? So my dad worked in the coal mine then, and he said, oh, come and work with me for a few months. 18 years later, I was still there, loved every minute of it. But we come on to, I suppose, where I developed from there, and I got into swimming a bit more. But crudely, it was my love of the sport. Coached, swam as a youngster, not very good, not as well as Ellie, but tried nevertheless.
I think you are a pretty good swimmer. Like this morning, you were like, I'm going to go training with one of our friends who trains at the Aquatic Centre too. And I was like, he actually beats himself up down. Like he's actually says that he's not the best swimmer, but I actually think you're a pretty good swimmer, bro.
And if Ellie says that, I believe it.
Yeah.
A bit of a hidden secret, perhaps.
Yeah, he can breaststroke pretty well. Probably because his head's up out of the water.
Yeah, so then loved the sport and got into my local swimming club where I'm from. Later on then, my daughter Gemma started swimming, so got more involved as a coach, and then just developed from there, I suppose. Became full-time then in 1999, I think, at the Gen County Swim Squad, where we merged a few squads into a performance centre, and then coached there for about 3 or 4 years full time, and the post came up to head up the performance centre for para swimming then in Swansea, and then I had that job, and I suppose developed from there then. Like Ellie said, been to a few Paralympic Games. Luckily, had some great swimmers, so had some great success. So I think I had a bit of play in it, but as an old saying in our old coaching network, if you want to be a great coach, find a great swimmer. I think I was quite lucky with the swimmers I've had. But that's a little bit of my background. But introducing Ellie, I think Ellie had said most of it, but been to 3 Paralympic Games, gold medalist in all games, European champs, world champs, success in right through the career, I suppose, from that famous world champs in 2006 in Durban, South Africa, at 11 years of age then, I think, Elle.
Just turned 12, just turned 12, like 2 weeks after my 12th birthday, yeah.
So, which is unheard of, really. And now we're heading up to our 4th Paralympic Games, which we would have actually been in Tokyo at this point in time now. And a year next Tuesday, we will be a 12-month out. So we've got to go on this extra 12 months now. But I think that's a bit of a blessing in disguise for us. Although we were going very well leading up to this Games, it doesn't matter. It just gives us another 12 months to focus on them little bits that we need to brush up on. But yeah, so very successful, an icon in not just in British swimming, but in British sport. And I suppose a household name now in Great Britain and further afield in other countries as well. So yeah, that's a quick resume. Like Ellie said, from Birmingham originally, and then at 12 years of age decided to move down to Swansea to the Performance Centre, which is a huge upheaval, not just for Ellie, being so young at that time, but for the family as well, where Dad is home with the family in Birmingham, and then Mum is down with Ellie then, down in Swansea, and then obviously meet up back at home, the whole family then on the weekends. So it's been quite a journey really, and I think, like Ellie said, we coach and swimmer, but are we best friends as well, which is, I suppose, for Ellie, it's a bit of a, I don't know what the word I'm looking for. I'm a best friend that's 60 something, but he keeps me young, and I think hopefully I keep Ellie on her toes and focused as well. So that's a quick resume of where we've come from to where we are today.
And it's 12 years of knowing her, or even more. Not since she was 12, you know her. And now you are 25?
25, yeah. So quite a few years. So yeah, 26 in a couple of months. But yeah.
So basically, almost more than half your life, you have been with Billy as your coach and as your friend. And
yeah, as you said previously, swimming is very time-consuming sport. It's a sport that we train 9 times a week, 2 hours in the session, plus half an hour pre-pool, plus we do 3 gym sessions and stuff like that. So it's a sport that we're with each other all the time, not just Billy, but also my teammates and my friends in the water too. So it's a sport that you see each other all the time. It's very, time consuming, but it's a sport that me and Billy are both the same, pretty much individuals. We're very bubbly. We like to be around people all the time. We don't like, we like our own time, but we're very extroverts in some sense. So swimming is great for that because you're never bored. You always got something to do. We're very time obsessed too. Like we're very all about routine, being on time, all that type of stuff. And swimming, I think it's a great sport, but it fits with our personalities too. Like they say, you find your sport, but sometimes your sports find you too. And swimming, it's that for us. And we see each other. We meet on poolside some 5:50 when back to normal, like when we would be back to normal, and then. So it's early morning plus in the afternoon. So it's a very time consuming sport, but I'm addicted to it and I love it.
I think as Ellie says, sorry Franny, I think as Ellie says, I think we're both passionate about what we do, not just in the water, but outside of the pool as well. Very, very similar characters in our thought and our processes. So, and I suppose if you're passionate and you love something, then it becomes a little bit easier then in life, I suppose.
Yeah. Like we always say that this swimming is our sport, but it's one of our jobs. And we're so fortunate that we love what we do for our job. Like we always say this, we always it's like one of our mantras really. We love what we do and we're doing it all the time, and we're lucky that this this is our life, this is our job in a way. And it is really nice that's it's a sport that we love to do and we're very passionate about it.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of passion coming from you. And yeah, you told me that the routine and waking up very early, going to sleep, then trying to go to sleep early as well. And I was just wondering, if we go back 26, 25 years, um, how was your love for swimming started? If it was something that you tried with your family, maybe you have brothers or sisters.
Yeah. So I'm from a family of five siblings, my mom, my dad, and I'm the youngest of all of them. And as a youngster, as a 5-year-old, I hated being bored. I liked to be doing something all the time. And I was very lucky that my parents, they every time every evening after school, I was doing some sort of activity from ballet, dancing, stage school, like trampolining, everything I was doing. And swimming was one of those sports that it was a thing that all my siblings did. So I remember sitting at the sidelines watching my sisters who are older than me learning how to swim. And then it was like, it was naturally my turn then. Once they'd passed, they were getting their 10-meter badge, 20-meter badge. It was my turn to swim. And to be safe, I think swimming is not just about, for me now, it's competitive, it's what I love to do, but it's also a life skill. And as a youngster, it was one of those things that my parents did for me to be safe around the water. We had a caravan in Wales, so we were always by the sea. So it was just about being safe in the water. So I just went to swimming, like to learn, really, as a 5-year-old, as well as all the other sports that I did. And it was just a sport that I think it clicked with me. I think I was very competitive, and I still am now. And as a youngster, I wanted to be getting my 10-meter badge, 20-meter badge, all of those badges. And I was trying to compete against my sister Katie and at that time I just wanted to be even as well as her, and she was getting up all these levels, so that's what I was wanting to do. And at my club at home in Birmingham was not just a learn to swim club, but it was also a competitive side as well. So once you've gone through your learn to swim stages, the coach from the competitive side came along and had a look at us, like, and picked us to start swimming competitively for them at our local galas on the weekends. And the next thing I know, I wasn't just doing one session a week, I was starting to do 2 sessions a week, 3 sessions a week. And as those sessions progressed, and as the time with swimming got more, my other sports started to diminish, because my swimming, my passion, what I was enjoying, swimming was getting more and more. So that's how it really gradually evolved. And then as I started really enjoying swimming competitively from my swimming club, I was just loving competing. And it was really fun at that time. It was called Diddy League. I think it's called like Arena or Speedo League now, but at the time it's called Diddy League. And I just really enjoyed swimming competitively. Plus, I was getting a real good social life at my swimming club, Bolmy Swimming Club, and I was just enjoying each time after school. I would go and we would mess around in the changing rooms. I would just have fun, like swimming, and it was just, naturally, I realised I was good at it. Plus, it was a sport that I just loved to do because it was more of a social sport too. And I think for me, it wasn't really until I watched Athens 2004 Paralympics, like how a lot of kids now watch the likes of London, the likes of Beijing. They sit on the sofa, not just children, but any age, adults, kids, and they get inspired by watching the sport, watching the Olympics, watching the Paralympics. In 2004, sitting on the sofa, like Billy would have been at the Paralympics at the time, and I wouldn't have known it.
I was there.
Yeah, I was, and I realised, like, I just, as a kid, I was sitting on the sofa and I watched the swimming events. A girl at the time in the Essex category called Nari Lewis. And I said to my mum, "Oh, how old do you have to be to go to a Paralympics?" And she was like, "Oh, any age." And I was like, "Do you just have to?" And she then just said to me, "Oh, you just have to be really good at what you do." And I think as an 8-9-year-old, it clicked with me then. This is like, that was when I was like, this is what I want to do. This is my dream. Like, you never know you're going to achieve your dreams. But as a kid, you dream that you want to be like the next sports star, the next Michael Jordan, the next doctor, nurse. And as a kid, my dream clicked to me that this is what I want to do. I want to go to a Paralympics and I want to stand on that podium and get a gold medal. So at the age of 9, that's when my dream started, really. And at the club that I was swimming at was an able-bodied club. So for me, I have dwarfism. I have a disability which affects my height. My limbs don't grow as long as the average person. And I realised that this was having a bit of an impact or effect as I was training with people who are able-bodied and competing against people who are able-bodied. So my parents and my mom especially, who's a very big motivator, and she loves swimming and is very sporty herself, but she looked at disability competitions out there for me and she signed me up to them, and that's where the ball got rolling. I went to my first disability competition and swept the board and realised that I was pretty good at what I was doing. And
are you surprised, or do you have this, no, I know I'm good, when you're like 9?
Surprised, really, because I think what clicked for me when I realised I was really good was going to the Beijing 2008 Paralympic trials and getting my first world records. That was when I realised, I clicked to myself that I'm actually pretty good. I'm like world #1 now. I think as an 11-year-old, you don't really take into effect like how good you actually are, because you're a kid, really. I was just doing the sport that I love to do and I was just enjoying it. So I don't think you realise really how good I actually was. And that was the time then, I think it was 10, 11, I got talent spotted by British Swimming and got picked to go on their START program, which it was called at the time. I think now it's called Academy, but back in those days it was called START. And that was when the ball started to get rolling about all the things like all the support system, the training that we needed to do. And I think that's when the start of being a professional athlete, the ball got rolling from then.
So how different do you feel it felt? Because now we are remembering how it was, Ellie, maybe at 11 or 10, of competing with any kind of person, and then when your mom was looking for you for S6, I think is the name, category. How different did it feel to have that kind of competition?
And to be honest, I think looking back, I think as a 10, 11-year-old, you don't really take into account the disadvantages that you have between, for me, with dwarfism to an able-bodied person who's who's swimming. I didn't really think about the not coming first situation or not doing as well as I'd hoped compared to swimming against people who are on the same par as me. So to be honest, as a kid, you don't really think about it. And even now, like it's hard to remember the memories, but I'm just lucky that I was able to watch Athens 2004 and realise that there was Paralympic swimming, that there was disability sport out there for people. And I think that's the thing what the Paralympics is amazing at doing. It's about inspiring those kids, inspiring those disability people out there, knowing that they can do stuff and it doesn't have to be against people who are able-bodied. There's so many different disabilities out there, and there's so many different types of sports that they can go out and compete on a level playing field.
So how it was to go there in Beijing, your first games, your dream that you had when you were 8 was achieving, because you wanted to be in the Paralympic Games, you were there. How did that feel? Were you excited, anxious, everything together? I don't know.
I was just so excited. Like, my first World Championships was in 2006, so I started to know what all about elite Paralympic sport, what international swimming was all about. I was starting to become a professional athlete myself. So I think for me, Beijing was just an excitement. It was my first Paralympic Games, like qualifying in April, hitting the qualification standard, getting the world record, getting the qualifying time, being outpicked on the team. I think as a 13-year-old, you don't really realise like the pressure or what really you're taking into account how big a Paralympics actually is. I was just so excited to get my kit, to be on the team, to go to China for like a month. We had our holding camp in Macau. All that excitement of being in a multi-sporting competition, multi-sporting team. I was just in awe of everything. I just remember being buzzing, just being so excited. Like, I do remember my first race, which was the 200 individual medley, and just being so nervous for it. I think, was I nervous, Bill, for my first? Pardon?
Well, we qualified for the final, and then I think then the nerves kicked in, and if you remember, that you were crying and didn't want to do it. And we've got an old saying now, and what I just told you on that time, oh, you're at the Paralympic Games final, you're in Beijing, just go and enjoy it. And you did, and we came back with some success off that, I think, you know, that about the enjoyment, not worried about anything, you know, although there are butterflies then when you've got that's many people. I think there was, I don't know, around about 18,000 people watching you then. That's a big challenge for a 13-year-old going into the final on that. But like we just said, go and enjoy it and have fun, and that's how we approached it really, and that's 200 medley.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I was very lucky that 200 IM was my first race in Beijing Paralympics. So it actually, like at the time, I was going in as favourite for the 400 free, which wasn't going to be for a couple of days after. So we were lucky that actually I was hoping to do a lot better than I did in the 200 IM. I think I came away 5th. We were hoping if things went well that I could have medalled. But did I come 5th? Yeah, I think I came 5th.
Yeah.
But I think in some respects I was happy because the nerves disappeared, and going to my first Paralympic final, I was able to like realise it all and get rid of those nerves and all the anxious of being on a world stage in front of, like Billy said, 18,500 people plus in the pool, plus all the people watching from home. I think that the 200 IM, I was glad that was first because all of that had disappeared. So then afterwards, I think it was the 100 free. I think it was even the day afterwards. I was not going in as favourite as the 100 free. Like I was not expecting to get a medal at all. Miriam de Koning-Pepper was going in as favourite, plus the Chinese and a German. And I just remember I don't know what, I had the swim of my life. I just remember going in and just swimming out of my skin. And I remember like turning on the last 100, like the last 50, and it was all being in the line. And I just thought, I'm just going to go head down and go for it. And I had the swim of my life, and I looked back and I did a PB and personal best, and I got the gold medal. And it was just a massive shock, like because I was 13, it was my first Paralympic gold, and I touched, and I remember just crying my eyes out because like it was just so unexpected. Like I wasn't expected to get the 100 free gold medal at all, and it was just, that was really when the success started, and it all happened because of that 100 free. Like now I'm not really 100 free, so I don't know why it was when I was a kid, but I think at the time when you're 13, like the day before with all the nerves, and then going into that race with no pressure, just going out there and enjoying it. And I just, swam the race of my life and loved it.
I think being a non-athlete, not even in the Olympic or Paralympic team, just being sitting on the couch watching the Olympics has always been something that I'm very excited about, and also watching the Paralympics, and the anxiety that I feel for just sitting there. And in those like 5 seconds before they're going to say, and then you jump. I remember one of the fears that I have more is that when people jump before the two and they miss the race, I'm like, so I just cannot imagine how it's for somebody that's actually competing for the first time, that is 13, that is in another country with a lot of people, with all the cameras, all the pressure. If I feel that being on the couch, how do you feel? And maybe Bill can help with this. So how it was for you, Billy, to meet Ellie for the first time? And what kinds of things does the team do to prepare the athletes for all the anxiety and excitement that it carries to be there?
I think from my perspective, first met Ellie just before I knew of Ellie, just before the World Championships in 2006, and knew that even at that time, even being that young, you know, that you're somebody with a great amount of talent, you know, not about the winning and all that comes at a later stage, you know, but that skill level. And when Eleanor first came down to Swansea, I can always remember she had the ability that, say, when we were working on her stroke on any stroke, and we said we need to change the hand position, or we need to change the head position for it to be more efficient, if you like. Then she had that ability to change. So I knew early on that that you're someone special that's going to have a major impact on the world stage in swimming in future years. Going back to the Beijing at that time, very nervous, like we said, in the 200 medley, not expecting nothing in the 100 free, not much preparation for that, if we're honest. But we did prepare a little, for the 400 free, because that's where we thought, with Elma's skill level, the 400 meters of freestyle swimming, front fall swimming, we knew with the amount of skill level and that ability to change at source very quickly, we knew that we were in with a pretty good chance of that. So from my perspective, it was, I think I had 9 swimmers on the team in Beijing. Obviously, Ellie being the youngest one, and if we're honest, not putting too much pressure, not taking it away from, she's part of the team, everybody gets a certain chunk of my time and so on. But if we're honest, it was one of, let's go there and enjoy it, learn from the experience, so that when it comes to London in 4 years' time, that's where we can be at our best, so to speak. But we will gold medal in the 100 free, and then that was the day after the 200 individual medley, and then I think it was 4 days later, then, which was our #1 event, which is the 400 freestyle, and we thought we could get a medal on it, but to get the gold medal, so that's 2 gold medals at 13 years of age from first Paralympic Games, that's when, from my perspective, then you've got somebody special in the swimming world then. So yeah, it was quite special, really.
Yeah.
How did you feel, Ellie, to win 2 gold medals at 13 in your first in your first Paralympic Games?
To be honest, I think it was just a dream. I think, when as a kid, like I said previously, you have a dream as a child, or even now as an older person, to do something, and then when it finally, you complete it and you get it done, and so unexpectedly, like Billy was saying, we were going to go into Beijing just for the experience, to get used to a Paralympics, a big sporting event, what it was going to be like, because London got announced in 2005 that London 2012 was going to happen. I think 2005, 2006 time. So we were just preparing, because I knew I was going to be 17 in London. I think that's a great age for swimming, for a woman in the sport to be at one of their best, and that was my aim, to hopefully get medals in London. So for me, Beijing was just to go out there and to have fun, to gain all the experience, to race, and to come away with 2 Paralympic gold medals and achieve my dream. I think my first gold medal, I think I was speaking to Claire Balding, and I was just in tears. I was just so emotional, because I'd achieved it. I'd achieved what I wanted to do, and a Paralympics is one of the biggest sporting events in the world, and to stand on that podium and get a gold medal after everything, and to get a Paralympic gold medal is something special, and to stand on that podium with the national anthem going, and to have achieved what I had achieved, it's a dream come true. And now over lockdown, I was moved back to my parents' house, and I was able to go through all my memory boxes and to realise how big Beijing was. I think as a 13-year-old, I took it in a bit in awe. I didn't really take it into account. And to look back now and to see how big Beijing 2008 was, it was huge games, how China did it, all about the water cube, the bird's nest.
Yeah,
and
it was amazing, how the structure and everything.
It was a great games, and for me to come away with 2 Paralympic gold medals, and at the age of 13, it's definitely a memory that I'll never ever forget. And it's hard to really relate how the emotions, because it's just Do you know when you're really happy and you don't know what to do because you're on a high, like you're on that natural high. I couldn't sleep. I remember I had the medal next to me in the athletes village, just because it was so like magical. It was a moment that I just couldn't take in, and I was just so, yeah. It's like, happy doesn't even sum it up because it's more than happy. Like all the positive emotions all in one. Like it's a dream, and that's what it was.
Yeah, it sounds magical. Like you are able to fulfill a dream that you had when you were all like younger than that, and you're still young. And then it's there physically, and then you still have all your future to go in. And following a question that is on the chat, do you feel maybe looking back, or even comparing Beijing to London and then to Rio, that being a little bit older changed a little bit how you perform or how you address the competitions and the training? Billy, I mean, he's saying yes.
Yeah, totally. I think as a 13-year-old, you don't really take into account the pressure, all those things on your shoulders. Whereas London was totally different from the success that I had in Beijing 2008, coming back home. As soon as we touched down on the plane, the countdown was on for London 2012. And me being a double gold medalist from Beijing, I was then picked on as one of the home favourites for London 2012. So from those whole 4 years leading up to London 2012, I was one of the home favourites, one of the poster girls, one of the people used for all the advertisement and all that type of aspects. And so going into London, I was 17, I was 4 years older, and I realised then the amount of pressure that I had on my shoulders. I think if, like, as a kid, like I said, you just don't take into account all of that. Was as you get older, you realize the amount of pressure, all the things on your shoulders, and that's what happened for me going into London. Which, in a way, I used it as a driving force, like having that amount of pressure. Like I know even now as a 25-year-old, when I know someone's watching me at training, I've got to deliver, or at competition times I've got to perform. And when my head is mentally right, I do perform under the amount of pressure. And so I was very lucky that as a 17-year-old, like I was able to cope with that amount of pressure, and it delivered me to one of the best games that I've ever had, and one of the best competitions that I've ever had, coming away from London 2012 with 2 golds, a silver and a bronze, and PBs in both heats and finals in all of my races. And then 4 years previously after that, I was 21 going into Rio, and again 4 years older. I was a lot older. I was one of the oldest of the team, one of the most experiences. And I think each games, each year that you're in the sport, you change. And I think looking back, if I was 21 going into Beijing, I don't think I would have achieved what I did now. But I think I was at that age, I was at that right time in my career as a 13-year-old, that I was able to not take things on my shoulders and just go out there and race. Whereas now I'm older, I do feel the pressure more, and I'm older too now, so I don't rest as well. Like I don't now I have to rest more to hit out hard sessions. Whereas a kid, you're like a Duracell bunny, you go all the time.
Energy forever.
Yeah, it takes its toll on my body. When I do a hard gym session and swim session, like I did a hard swim and gym just now on Saturday, and even Sunday and Monday I was feeling it. Whereas as a youngster, you can hit it again the next day. So it's not just about the mental aspects of coping with pressure, but also it's the body too, your muscle fatigue, all those types of aspects. And also, as an older person, you've got to think about looking after yourself, feeding, giving the right nutrition, all those other aspects, which as a kid, you don't think about, because all I did was go training, go to school, go home, and my parents would cook dinner and all that. As an older athlete, you've got to manage your whole life, and being a normal 25-year-old as well.
The responsibility there in your shoulders.
See, I think that's an important point there, because from a young age, that we talk in swimming terms that I suppose 80% of what we do is physiological, but then that 20% is possibly psychological, and especially with Ellie then having success in Beijing at a young age. Going into London was a pressured environment, but like Ellie said, absolutely thrives off that pressure, But preceding London, in between Beijing and London, of course, in 2009, we had the European Championships in Iceland. And in 2010, we had the World Champs in Eindhoven. It's year on year, there's a major coming up, So it's this whole pressure is building up, That we had the European Championships then in 2011 in Berlin. And Ellie, having success in Beijing and having success at these two European Championships and the World Champs, this all, I don't want to say a pressure cooker, but the next best thing, I suppose, and Ellie being the face of Paralympic Games in London.
I think we've lost him.
Yeah, I don't think if he can hear us, but I think like if you start at 13 winning two and the pressure.
Perhaps others might have
I think we
that.
Yeah, well, technology is like this.
Yeah, it is. Oh, he's still talking.
Like Ellie said, that we talked a lot about using all that pressure and energy and turn it into
Oh,
okay. We have you back now, Billy. You are muted. You need to unmute yourself. Let me see if I can help you with that. Okay, Billy?
Can you hear me now?
Perfect, yes. We hear parts of it, not everything, because technology and well, being in lockdown happens, but you were mentioning that when you start like with 2 gold medals and with that, you put your stakes very high and then you do well and then you do well. So it's more pressure maybe that the next time you will also do well because you already proved your worth in the swimming area in this sense.
Yeah.
And also
I don't know. I don't know how much you caught of that, but like what I was trying to say was preceding London and post Beijing, there was European champs and world champs along route, and having success at them as well added to all this pressure building up into London. But like Ellie said earlier, that Ellie certainly thrives off that kind of pressure. So we turned where some swimmers, athletes might have found that too much, we turned that into a positive in our favour.
One of the questions, sorry, Ellie, it's just because one of the questions that we had on Instagram had to do with that, like how can you cope with the hardest days? Because you have the pressure, you have the anxiety, the expectations, and also normal, regular, like, I don't know, pressure fighting with a friend or having a bad day. How did you cope with that, and what are your strategies for that?
Yeah, so as we've said, all the positive stuff of games, like of my coping with the pressure, but actually there's been really, really hard times as well. Like it's not been all amazing. Actually, leading into after London and leading into Rio 2016, especially leading into Rio and the year after Rio 2016 was actually one of the hardest and lowest points of my swimming career. Or we had a guy on the coach on the team who was the head coach of the para swimming team, who was not very nice at all, and he made the working situation very hard. And that was when my self-confidence actually was at the lowest it's ever been. And surprisingly, I don't know how I did, but I still managed to get a gold in Rio 2016. But actually, from a self-confidence point of view, and I hated my sport in that year. I hated all about it, and that's why I made the decision to take a year out after Rio, just to get away from it and realize what I love to do, what makes this, why I love the sport. And I think taking away from it it was the best point of view, because I think when you're in the swimming world, in that bubble all the time, it's hard, and especially when you're at a sport that's, you don't want, it's your life, and you don't want to be going to training each and every day because you've got this one individual putting you down all the time. So it's not been all roses. There has been times where I've actually really, really struggled with self-confidence, with motivation, with all of that aspect. And I think it's not actually like, I took myself away from the sport and came back and realised why I love the sport, and me and Billy decided that we're going to go now, ready for Tokyo. But I think each year now since 2017, I've grown my confidence back in the sport and my motivation. But I think it's not since actually lockdown has really helped with that, because I realised why I love to do it. And I think, again, taking the time to really process what I've achieved in my career and the real reasons why I've loved the sport. I've come back from lockdown more motivated and my highest confidence than probably what I did going into London 2012. So I think the question that what this Instagram person is saying is, what motivates me? I think it changes all the time, but since lockdown, from this minute, what motivates me is my sport, and that the fact that I love to do it. It makes me who I am today. Like, I've been able to achieve what I've been able to do through sport. I've been able to meet some amazing people and be able to go to some incredible countries. But I would like to go to my 4th Paralympic Games, and I would like to continue to leave a legacy of Paralympic sport and inspire people all around the world that no matter what, you can achieve your dream. And I think as a kid, what motivated me was to get my first Paralympic gold medal, to go to London 2012, a home Paralympic Games. But it changes all the time. But I think now, as a 25-year-old, yeah, you do have hard days. Like, I think everyone does, not just swimming, but you have days which, like, especially lockdown, it was a roller coaster of emotions. You're high, you're low, you try and balance it, but that's life. Like, if you're on that high all the time, then there's no real high aspect, because you're just on a horizontal line all the time. So I think, and also you learn about yourself more when you're at your lowest, in a sense. I know that sounds really strange, but like, you realize like what makes you tick and what doesn't. And I think it's that support system around you too, what motivates me. Like, when I go to the pool, I'm lucky that I've got Billy to have a laugh with. We've got the staff and team and our friends at the aquatic centre. We've got the guys at Camden Swiss Cottage, which are my swimming club. They motivate me because it makes it fun. It's a place that it's like a workplace that I want to go and work there because of the people surrounding me. But what motivates me now as an athlete is I want to go to next Paralympics. I want to go to my 4th Games and hopefully, get on the podium.
We all want you to keep going with your legacy. And I was thinking, well, a lot of ideas, but I was thinking in how important it is for athletes, and I will say everyone, but to reconnect with the thing that you love, because sometimes you get so like in this wheel that never stops, that you need to train, and then you have another goal, and then you train another goal, that sometimes it's very easy to forget, why am I doing this? Do I actually like swimming? Do I like this style of swimming? Do I like competing? Or do I just want to have a pool in my house and that's it? And how important it is to reconnect. And you took this year and you felt the connection, and that of course fuels you again. And also how important it is, the people and the relationships that you have, because it can be one person from one team, and that can make your whole relationship with how you feel about swimming being affected, because that's how powerful relationships are. And I'm very glad that you have Billy now, and well, you always have Billy, but you have Billy in this moment, that even if you feel stressed, because life is stressful, like you said, you still have the love for swimming, and you still have people that support you, no matter if you're in a lockdown or in competition.
And I think as mental health is huge. Like, it's something that I think is a real key factor, because I know when I'm at my happiest, I'm the fastest in the pool and I'm loving life. But also, I think one of those factors that really helps that is talking to people. I find that, like, if you bottle your emotions or your feelings up, it just gets on your mind and clogs you up. But I'm very lucky that I've got the likes of Billy, who we talk about everything to. And it's about having those individuals to talk about your problems with. And I think that's a real big aspect. And I'm very lucky that I have got those individuals that have helped me throughout my journey, from the good to the bad. But talking about it all has really helped clear my mind and really helped figure it out. And like you said, Franny, I think lockdown, like as an athlete, we go to a Paralympics, we do all world championships or Europeans or British or anything. We go there, we compete, and we're already, even after like the closing ceremony, we're always thinking about the next one. And it's like, actually, sometimes you actually don't get to stop and really process what you've achieved.
Yeah.
Lockdown for me as an athlete and as a woman, as a human, I actually was able to really process this past 12 years that I've been swimming or competing. Well, probably more than 12 years, because I was able to really realize what I've achieved in my career. And I think that really helped, being able to actually take a step back, not think about swimming, but actually go through all the success or the ups and downs and really figure it out. Because yeah, you're already, like, even now I'm sitting back training and I'm thinking about Tokyo already. And actually sometimes you're not actually in the present moment right now. You're thinking about that goal, and you never actually sometimes, if now I've learned a lot from lockdown, but you never really taking what you've achieved today.
Yeah.
And yeah, but like in lockdown, and like one of the aspects that I was doing with my friends, and I'm trying to carry it on now. We always try and say, like at the end of the day, we always try and say what our highlight was of the day, because it's always about those little things. Also, like me and my parents in lockdown at dinner time, we would always say 3 things that we were grateful for throughout the day, and it's just trying to, again, not look into the future or not look into the past, but be in that present moment. And I think that really has helped me being with my mental strength lately.
Yeah, I think that's very, very important for the mental health, because what we don't see, like what is in the backstage, is like we can be there watching from the TV, or even going to the Olympics and Paralympics and rooting for your country or your favorite sport person. And then we celebrate and we rest for 4 years. And then another game. But in your case, you don't rest. You are like thinking, okay, if I want to go to Tokyo, then I need to start now. I have half an hour break and then I need to start again, because if not, I'm going to lose training. And so it feels like even if I achieve a goal, then another goal comes out. So you never actually have the time to embrace that. And like you said, maybe lockdown, that has been something that has affected the whole world.
Oh yeah.
It was hard because it put like a big stop in the productivity, in the will, but then you have more time to just rest and look back. And I wanted to ask you, maybe it's one thing, maybe it's a lot of things, but now that you're 25 or almost 26, what would you say that you are most proud of? It can be swimming or it can be something else. Looking at your life, what would you say you're most proud of right now?
Most proud of, well, in the swimming world was definitely London 2012. It was a games that I'll never ever forget. Like, even talking about it now, sometimes like it brings back emotions, just because it was the most amazing summer ever. Like, I remember sitting on the sofa watching the London 2012 Olympic opening ceremony, seeing Danny Boyles, like all about the NHS, all about the steelworks, and remember thinking, oh, that's going to be us in a couple of weeks. And just the whole build-up of London 2012, having a home Olympics and Paralympics in our home country is rare. And for us to have that time in our career to be part of it, and it was a year and it was a summer that it brought the whole nation together, and to be part of that, but also going into my 400 meter free, it was a great rivalry between me and an American called Victoria Allen, and it was, I don't know how, but I somehow managed to remain focused, because her classification was all up in the air. One day she was going to be in the Essex category, and the next day she wasn't. So it was a moment where I didn't know if I was racing her or not. Like, I know you've got 8 other people in the final too, but she was going to be my main rival. She had broken my world record a couple of months previously. And that whole story leading up to that 400-meter free, and then given the race of my life. And I look back now at, I don't really watch it much, but I watched it over lockdown just to really like realize how big it was. And it was, yeah, I remember that last 50, I was like losing, behind from her, not losing, that's not a nice word, but behind Victoria until the last 50. And I remember just thinking, I just got to go my head down and just give it everything I got and go through that red pain and go through it all. And it was just, I touched, and all my family, my friends, people had never seen me swim before were in that arena, and to be part of it and to do a massive personal best, it was 5 seconds, break a world record in front of a home crowd. It was a games and a memory that I'll never ever forget, and I'll take it to the grave. Like it's like it was the best achievement ever, and I'll never forget that. It was the most amazing summer ever, and being part of that, being part of the team, and even like after the games, after the Paralympics, coming away with 2 golds and silver and a bronze. But as a team, as Olympic and Paralympics GB, we have a parade in London afterwards. And London, we were on our like floats going through the city of London, getting cheered on for the achievements of the whole Paralympics and Team GB team. And the amount of people that were in the streets, lining the streets, it was just incredible, the support that we had. And it was just a year, 2012, I was about to say 2020, but 2012 was just a year that's going to go down in history, and it makes me very proud to be British.
Yeah, I think don't ever underestimate how it is to compete from home.
Oh yeah, it's amazing, because also the fact like I know like my grandma's a lot older now, but like she wasn't able to manage because of her health to go to Rio or to go to Beijing or probably now Tokyo. But for her to be there, to people who actually can't travel to see me race, they get to go just on a train to see me race. And I think that's it. It's all those support systems, all those people behind you actually get to see you do your thing. And to have an Olympics and Paralympics, which is one of the biggest sporting events in the world, in your home country, yeah, it's just incredible.
It sounds like a fantasy. I wanted to ask Billy the same question. What would you say you're more proud of Ellie?
Oh, I think there's so many things that I could write a book, but certainly
we can have a biography.
but certainly from a swimming perspective, and I've been lucky. I've had many swimmers who have produced gold medals, and not just gold medals, but achieved their personal best. That's what we talk about in coaching terms. We want them to do their best ever, be the best they can. But certainly that 400 freestyle and all the goings on around it, like Eleanor said, that Victoria Allen, we didn't know if she was swimming, if she'd be classified in, or was she out. So this was all leading up to the day before, So from a mental perspective, you've got to be pretty strong to stay focused within what you can do. And I think a lot of people would have been happier if Victoria hadn't been in, because Eleanor would have had a better chance of a medal. But from us working for 4 years, we worked 4 years to go a specific time. And with Victoria there, we were quite confident that we could go that time. So from a swimming perspective, that stands out way above any other thing that I've ever witnessed in our sport. It was just absolutely phenomenal.
Well, you seem like friends, so you share one moment in particular that was beyond all the expectations of everyone. And I like talking about what happened with Victoria, the word uncertainty comes to mind, and how we can have that, like somebody that's maybe going to have the gold medal will compete or not. And now we come to 2020 when we were going to Tokyo. I remember I applied to be a volunteer even. I wanted to be there because I really love the games. And then COVID happened. And how was that for you in the beginning? Because now you said that, yes, lockdown gave me time, and I'm still training, but it gave me time to not have the Tokyo Games now. But how was in the beginning when everything that you had planned for the year was, okay, Tokyo is coming, and then this happened. How was for you and also for Billy to keep focusing on this when this
Well, I'm not gonna lie, at the start it was so tough. Like, it was really hard. I think it was Friday the 20th of March. We were a couple of weeks out, like even 2 weeks out from hopefully going to trials for the Paralympics. So I was on my aim game. I was at probably the fastest I'd been in such a long time. I was super focused, super ready. Friday the 20th came of March, and they were like, we're closing the pool, like, what's going to happen? And we were all up in the air. Like, I remember saying to Billy, I'm just going to, like, we were even like the Monday of it, we were supposed to be going to Italy to race, and we were like, oh, let's go to Italy. Like, we didn't think it was going to be as big as this, what it was going to be standing out for. We were like, oh, let's not go to it. Like, Italy got cancelled. We were like, oh, let's go to South Africa instead. Like, let's just get a week out in the sun. Like, not knowing that this was actually going to be one of the biggest 4 months away from the sport that we'd planned. But Friday the 20th came, and we like the pool was closing. So I was just like, I just want to get away out of London and just go to my parents, which are in the countryside in Aldridge. And I was like, I'll probably just stay there for the weekend while we figure out where to train. Not knowing
very much 2 days, 3 days.
Yeah, that's all I thought. I thought I'll just escape for a little bit, just while we figure out what the situation is, where we can train, like what the situation is going to be. Not knowing that 4 months later, that's when I'll move back to London. But I found it really tough. Like, we got announced then that our trials for the games had been cancelled, and then the news then that the Tokyo Olympics and Paralympics had been postponed to the following year. I remember I got that phone call from British Swimming at the time, and I just remember crying my eyes out, because when you have a goal, and since January or even after Rio, your focus is a Paralympics, like you have these major competitions, but January 2020 came, the focus was all about Tokyo Paralympics. And then when all of that goes overnight, as an athlete, it's hard, it's scary. Not just as an athlete, as anyone in the workplace, when you have a routine, you know what you're going to do, it just disappears all overnight. It's tough. Like, and I found it really hard. Like, my plan was actually going to be that after Tokyo, I was going to probably I was thinking about retiring. So again, it all cocked up my plan, because I was going to go and race in Tokyo in the summer, and then I was going to retire. I was going to think about moving to Australia in January and going teaching abroad. Like, my life was put on hold. It was all up in the air, and not knowing when we were about to swim, knowing how I was going to train, all that type of situations was really tough. But I think it took a few weeks to realise, like, I went on long walks with my parents just to really talk things through. Was I going to carry on in the sport? Was I going to retire now? What was the situation going to be? And I think I realised, like, it took a long few months. Like, I even spoke to Billy about retiring. Like, I was thinking, what shall I do? What shall I do with this sport? Like, can I do it for another year? Like, I want to be a normal 25-year-old. I want to is it time now to go on to that next chapter, be a teacher, be able to, because swimming it's an amazing sport, but sometimes you have to sacrifice a lot of things and put your life on hold. So I was like, should I just retire from it now and move on to the next thing? But then I realized, going through all my processes, going through all my bits, that actually Paralympics is like nothing else, and I love swimming, I love what it does, and I decided to carry on and go for another one.
I imagine all the questions coming up, because sometimes we can even feel, okay, this is a sign, like the whole world is going to quarantine, then should I just accept that? Maybe should I stop now, or should I continue and focus in this whole year? And I imagine maybe these weeks that you had with your parents, or I don't know, just a hypothesis, maybe were the weeks that you swim the less in your whole life, because you're very used to train 6 days a week, like you mentioned.
Yeah. So lockdown was like 3 to 4 months, and actually that was probably the longest time I actually been away, even on my year off from a swimming pool, because even on my year off I was going like to Australia, South Africa and all that, but I was still trying to touch the water as much as I can. But this was 3 to 4 months where we weren't actually able to train because we couldn't. So I was trying to think about, I did a lot of yoga, lots of walks, gym sessions. I'd made a little gym session in my parents' kitchen, exercise bike that I'd got. I was just trying to keep as fit as I could as possible, and not knowing when the pools were going to be open again. But luckily,
Are they open now?
yeah, it's open now, so I'm really lucky that I can train. I think I've been back in London now for 3-4 weeks, so it's been amazing. But it's crazy now, actually, like sitting here now that actually lockdown happened and the whole situation that was in, because it feels like we're back to training normality in a way for me. But yeah, it's just, I think everyone coped with it differently, and for me, it was that time where I really was able to process things. But also, I'd not been with my mom and dad and siblings for 4 months since I was probably 12. So it was actually a time where I was able to gain that relationship with them again and figure things out with my parents and siblings that I'd not known about them since I was been living with them since I was 12. So it was a win-win situation. But I was, as everyone, I think in lockdown, you do have your highs and lows. You have your days where you like it. I was able to lie in, no 5 o'clock lie-in alarm call, so I was loving that. Set my alarm for like 7:30 in the morning. Like, it was really nice in that aspect. I was sleeping so much more as my body was so rested compared to like what is as an athlete, like full-time athlete. But yeah, there was times where it sucked. You wanted to get back to normality, but at that present moment, you just got to cope with what the situation is at that time.
Yeah, and hearing you saying that you tried yoga, you walk, because you're also a person you're an athlete, not only swimming, that's your main sport, but you're an athlete anyway. So I don't imagine you being 4 months on the couch doing nothing, because you will drive yourself crazy. But I was thinking, if you can explain why swimming? Why was swimming the place that you felt, this is my sport?
For me, like as an older athlete now, it's my it's where I'm free. I know that sounds a bit cringe, but it's when I'm in water, when I'm swimming up and down like this morning, like you're in your own mind. It's you and your water. It's really tranquil. It's a time where I process my thoughts. I think about things, and that's what it does now. And also, it's the fact that I'm very competitive, and for me, I can push my body to its limits. Like when training is at its hard sessions. So I think in an aspect like that, it's a sport that I'm good at, but also it's something that I can go hard at too, because it is a sport, it is a physical aspect, but also it's a very tranquil sport. And I realised, like, even in lockdown, like, swimming is like my therapy. It's like my stress reliever. It's something that even when I'm in the ocean free diving, it's something that I go under the sea, under the surface, and it's a time where it's just me and my mind, and it's just it's a sport that I find very tranquil.
We all want you to keep swimming in that sense. Do you have any favorite place to swim? You will say you will prefer to swim in a pool, or maybe the ocean, or maybe a lake?
I'd say like my favorite swimming pools are Fort Lauderdale, in the Hall of Fame in Fort Lauderdale, the London Aquatic Centre, and also Beijing Water Cube. Those are my ultimate favourite swimming pools. I don't know why. I think it's just got fond memories from them. Beijing was just, I remember walking in and it's beautiful. The whole cube was stunning, like the outside, but also the inside. The London Aquatic Centre has my heart. It's a place where I was able to achieve the games, but now I realise it's a beautiful pool, and I think I train there most days now. So I think sometimes, like, we were sitting out there on Monday, I think it was, and we were like, I think because it's a place that we train at all the time, you don't realise how beautiful it is. So we were just sitting in the sun waiting for my gym coach, and seeing like the outside of it, and it's a beautiful pool, but you don't, I think when you're there all the time, you don't realise how good it is. But also Fort Lauderdale, because I don't know, it's one of my favourite outdoor swimming pools in Florida, and it's just, we had the most amazing camp there, like last year I think it was, and it's just a great pool. Like, it's getting refurbished at the moment, so looking forward to when that gets open again. I'll say my favourite like places to swim is like, I'm very lucky that with my love of the water that I've been able to swim with like whale sharks and all that type of thing. I'll say my favourite place to swim is Madagascar. I was able to swim out there. I'm not a fan of too much of cold like seas. I swam in like tried to swim in the seas in around Britain, but I'm more of a fan of the Indian Ocean, all those types of tropical places. So
South America in the north is also very warm.
Yeah, so like I've been like Mexico and all that type of stuff. It's hot there, but Madagascar, like the ocean out there was just, I'd never seen anywhere so beautiful. Like it was a place that I couldn't, when something's so like, it's like a picture postcard, like it was so beautiful, I couldn't like take it into my eyes because it was just, I'd never seen anywhere so beautiful. So yeah,
amazing. I really, really want to go. When COVID is over and I have money, maybe I will. Yeah. There is another question as well, and I think also Billy will be required for this one as well. It has to do with how do you as a coach and the athlete prepare? Do you have any conversations that you have prior, and then do you have any debriefing after? What kind of advices maybe you can give, Billy, to other people that are coaches in different fields to prepare the athletes on how to take all the experience after it has happened, even if she has won a gold medal or if she's just training?
I think we have a tried and tested formula. So the weekly balance, what we do, say on a Monday morning, Monday night, Wednesday morning, and so forth, I think that's tried and tested. But before, so our new cycle now into Tokyo now will start from next week. So that's 12 months out from the games. The program is broken down into 3 sections. So the first section is from August to December. The second section will be from January into April, which is where our Paralympic trials will be. That's where we have to qualify for the games. And then the final part then will be from May into end of August, beginning of September for the games themselves. But when we break it down into a weekly formula, before each one of them cycles, me and Eleanor will sit down and we'll have a chat and we'll go through each day, each week within each block, leading into the games for next year. So it's not just about what we do today or what we do tomorrow or what we do next week. It's about Tokyo games next year, and then working back and having clear focuses, guidelines, goals for what are we about to achieve when we get to Tokyo. So, for example, if we link it back into your students who are looking in on this podcast, that me and Ellie, we're always looking for a first-class degree. If it's going to take that much to get a gold medal next year, how do we achieve it? And it's en route over the next year, over the previous years, to get to that point in training every day. And I suppose that relates back to your students, whereby they're all going to set themselves for try and gain a first-class degree. If they get a 2-1 or a 2-2, so be it. But you have to plan for that first-class degree. And
I think this goal that like carries you to put everything further, and the motivation and all the strength that you need to carry to go there.
Very much, very much. But we forever discussing, and we go through the plan, and we've got a plan. But if that plan didn't change between now and Tokyo next year, I'd be very amazed. So you have a plan, and then something will change, you replan. So coming back to your students, they should be sort of, if they've got to put an assignment in and the closing date is in a month's time, they don't want to start that assignment the day before. They need to be starting it now. So if we link it back into our students. But that's certainly the way that we work. We have a goal, what we think it needs to be done for Tokyo, for example, this time, and then all the plan is how do we build up in our training processes to make that dream a reality.
I think it's communication as well, isn't it? Like always talking about like how we think training's going, how we don't, like what we're liking, what we're disliking, and like we're both planners. Like this my diary is something I can't go anywhere without it. Like I like to know where I am each day, where I am each week, and Billy's exactly the same. So we talk like when I have work things on, like he knows all the time. We fit around training, or we fit work around training. So it's always like planning. Like we like to be super organized, and I think then that relates also to like to competitions too. We know like what we do at a competition, and we have a routine. So like before the night before, we like to get in the pool, get used to the settings. Like I know I pack my bag, or like I've got my bags packed already for tomorrow morning already. Like I'm super organized. Everything, like Billy's probably got his bags packed for like when we wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. But I think the dialogue that we have before a competition or is we do have our routine, and we like to know what our plan is, and like to know what our goal is to hit in the heats or in the finals. And I think we also like I'm a person that I hate like being late for things, and Billy's the same, so we're always early to things. And like if I'm late to something, it really panics me. So we make sure that we're early to everything, because we like to be at our comfortablest. We like to know what we like to do. And I think he always sticks with me towards the whole warm up. I go and get changed into my racing suit, and I come back to him, and we go through our race plan. And then he walks me to the call room, which is the call room is where everyone gathers before a competition. And we just talk about things, and then you normally like give me a fist pump and say good luck and see you on the other side. But I think like that's the dialogue. But I think for us, what we know is we know what works for us, and we know our traits and what we like to do. Just be super organized, be on time, be knowing what we do, talking about things. And that's what makes us good at what we do, because we know we have our disadvantages, we have our advantages, but we try and use our advantages to the best of our abilities.
Yeah, I think it's very important what you're mentioning, that is self-knowledge. And I imagine now you know more about what you like and what strategies do you prefer than when you were 11. And also you work in a team, and that means that you also need to know how Billy likes to work and how you put those things together. And just because we are reaching almost the end of today's talk, I wanted to ask you something that we mentioned in the beginning. What other things are very important for you as a woman, as a human, other than also swimming and competing? For example, when you have these days off, what do you want to do? Do you want to maybe go out with friends? Do you have any other hobbies? If you can tell us a little bit about that as well.
So if COVID wasn't happening, I love traveling. I'm a travelholic. I love ocean conservation. I'm very passionate about saving the planet and doing my bit for the ocean, and all about plastic, trying to live a plastic-free life. So that's one of my big passions, and also giving back as well. I love working with kids, being able to inspire them to achieve anything, no matter what. So if I wasn't an athlete, or if I wasn't a professional swimmer, I would be somewhere in the world teaching children. I'd love to teach kids English, or be a primary school teacher but abroad. But I love traveling. It's something that it's seeing how incredible this beautiful world is, and it's opened your eyes to so many different people, but also different cultures as well. And when you travel, you'll be able to see this incredible planet. And also I love being a normal 25-year-old when I'm home at London. Just, like I love brunch, going out for coffee. Like me and Bill try to go to a different coffee place all the time, catching up with friends. And being with loved ones. I'm from a very big family, like 5 siblings, plus many cousins, many aunties, many nieces and nephews. And being with them is one of my big things, but also just spending time with people that I'm happy to be around, and even going on my own, like to coffee shops. I love doing that and just getting out and about. But also at the moment I'm really into my plants into my flat. So my flat has got about 1 million plants. But that was my hobby over lockdown. But just
they survive.
Yeah, they have.
Are struggling with the heat.
Yeah, which is really nice. It has been super hot, but yeah, just being a normal 25-year-old, but traveling and exploring and just getting out and about and being around people and inspiring people is what makes me tick, as well as being in a swimming pool.
Have you been to Chile?
No, I haven't actually. No, it's definitely, I've heard such beautiful things about it, so I definitely love to pop over there and do more of South America. I know, Billy, South America, Cuba in South America.
Cuba, yeah. Well, just as near as, yeah.
I'd love to do. We've been to Brazil, but love to do more of that part of the world.
Yeah, we would love to have you, and I'm very happy to hear all of these ideas that you have, because you mentioned the word retirement, and sometimes that word is very scary for a lot of athletes, because your whole life has been one thing sometimes, and then thinking what other things I have passion for. And that doesn't mean that you're going to stop swimming, but we have the question competing internationally, and it feels like you have so many things to give, not only in your like sports skills, but teaching other people, taking care of the planet, and of course just being a normal 25-year-old person that, like you mentioned. And I do feel you're going to be able to achieve all of that. And I think my last question for now is like, if you had your, I think it was 8 or 9-year-old Ellie looking at you now, how do you feel she will react? Can she imagine this happening, or?
No, I think she would be in awe of everything that I've achieved. Like, I don't think, like to think about what I've done in my career so far as a 25-year-old, or as a human, as what I've achieved. Like, yeah, I don't think I would have realized I've done all of this, plus in the swimming, but also travel the world and all that type of stuff. Like, yeah, I would be so proud of what I've done and what I've done to Paralympics and disability people and giving back and all that. Like, I'd be, shocked with everything.
Yeah, it feels like the dream that you had is so much bigger now. Like, you have achieved so many other things than just going into Paralympic Games. That, okay, Beijing, you have London, you have Rio, you have Tokyo now, and everything that you have been working with Billy as well, and your personal growth is beyond what you were imagining when you were like 8 or 9. And just to keep your tradition, I was wondering if you could say 3 things that you are grateful for. It could be for today, it could be for the week, if you want to share that with us.
Yeah, today what I've been grateful for is I was able to have a lie-in, which is really nice. So I was able to train a bit later. So I was able to, like, I quite like coffee, so I was able to grind my beans, really nice Cuban beans actually Billy got me. So I was able to have those this morning and just enjoy that. I was also able to, I used the tube to go to training today, which I was really happy about. Because, you know, with all the anxious about like the tube at the moment with all that COVID, so that was a real easy move. And also what else today, having the opportunity to talk tonight was
nice. I'm happy to be part of your 3 talk things for today. And I love that you have your cup, because this is called Tea Talk.
Yes,
the first guest I think that we have that actually has the cup and the mug there.
Yeah, so I've got it.
Yeah. And I was wondering if either you or Billy have any last words that you want to share, and also to explain why the talk is till 9 is because you need to have your beauty sleep because you train very early.
Yeah, so it's crazy, but one of we are morning people, me and Billy. Normally, well, at the moment, even now, like I get up at 5 o'clock, but normally I would get up about 4:45 to catch the first tube. So I try to, as a swimmer, and I've realised that sleep is very important, and it's all about rest and recovery, as well as being a full-time swimming and gymming and all that, but also about resting too is really top of my priorities a lot lately. So I always try, it's weird, but I always try to be in bed by 9, to be asleep by 9:30. I read before I go to bed, and just to shut myself off. But yeah, I try and get as much sleep as I can. So my early doors, I'm awake by 5 o'clock. So out the door
I've
about.
never ever been in bed at 9 p.m.
Yeah,
Like,
it's but otherwise, like if I'm tired, then it really affects my training abilities. So I try to have the best sleep that I can get. Like it's understandable. There is nights where, sorry, I can't get to sleep early due to events or due to friends and family being around, but I try when I can to get an early night, as well as Billy too. Like, but we're morning people. Like we're at our most talkative in the morning. Like when I'm like in normal training, like when I'm on the tube about 5:15, like that's when I get all my emails done. Like my agent knows that I'm awake training because I always reply to all my emails at like 5:30 in the morning. Like that's my most productive time. So it's funny, but I'm definitely an early morning person. I'm definitely not a night owl.
I am completely. So I'm always just struggle when I see people waking up at 5, like. So we have 2 last questions. One is for Ellie, the other one is for Billy. So the one for Billy is, do you have any advice for students, again, that are maybe struggling mentally because of the pandemic and now they need to move to this residence from a different country? Having the experience that you have, like working with maybe kids, teenagers and young people that have for different, maybe they have to go to different countries, they have to change their routine, and they of course struggle. Do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of key things here that most of the swimmers that I've had when I was at the performance centre in Swansea came from away. They weren't living in that locality, and I think you have to have that conversation beforehand, and you have to go through the pros and cons, the fors and against, and I suppose you have to reassure people that hey, it's okay to come. And if it doesn't work out, then it's not a problem. You can go back, But I got a key philosophy that if you didn't try, you'd never know. And I think that's a key one. But I think when it comes down to when they have moved, like Ellie was just saying, then now we're getting back into full training after a couple of months of not being in full training. We're just about absolutely exhausted now. So we took the opportunity this morning to have a bit of a lie-in, and we trained 2 hours later than what we normally do. But especially when Ellie is absolutely fatigued, we don't worry so much about the content of what we're supposed to be doing, but it's focusing on keeping good skill. And I think that's where it comes back to your students now when they're getting back in. If they've had some time off for COVID, there'll be a tendency to rush, try and get everything in. And I know from my university time, I'm working with elite athletes like Ellie, that take time out. Sometimes you can be over fatigued, and for your students, perhaps they're trying to revise or trying to take things on board and they're too fatigued. What I would suggest is put it aside. Don't worry about it. Go for a walk, do something else, and then come back to it at a later date. For example, what we say in swimming, and it would apply to your students, I suppose, let's have 1 hour quality and spending 5 hours of trying to do something and haven't done anything. I think that hopefully that sums up the 2 scenarios there.
Yeah, I think that's an amazing advice, because we have been struggling with that in lockdown, that we need to have these amazing skills and be super productive because now we have time and we need to do everything perfect. And sometimes we try to study, like you mentioned, for 5 hours, but we are 5 hours trying to study but not studying. And if we had only 20 minutes, maybe we would have done more than courses. Yeah.
Very much.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that.
Okay.
And the last question that we have for Ellie is, because we have another program also called Kitten Hacks. So part of the events that we do have to do with accompany and support the students that are living in residences. And like I mentioned, sometimes also other King students that maybe are coming in, or maybe they were living with us and now they're going back to their countries because of COVID. So in this program, we have John, one of the other community facilitators like me, and he prepares simple recipes and he teaches a lot about cooking and his love of food. So he had the personal question of, do you have any particular food that you like or any recipe that you would like to share with us?
Oh, tough question. Like I love like sticky. I do like a sweet and sour sticky tofu. So it's like sweet and sour, like a takeaway thing, but it's actually made fresh. Make the sauce fresh, and it's with tofu. So I'd cut the tofu up, put it in, coat it in corn flour, make the sweet and sour sauce with white wine vinegar, chili powder. I'm trying to think, garlic, honey, and whip it all up, and then fry it with some onions and yellow peppers. Put some spinach in it and kale, and then do it with some rice, and that's really nice. I love anything like with hummus, avocado, eggs, like just yeah. But to be honest with you, I'm a breakfast person, so give me brunch any time in the morning, like making my own pancakes or good granola and yogurt, like yeah. But to be honest, like I'm trying to think, like roasted veg as well. Like I love simple roasted veg is cannot beat it too.
So to win Ellie's heart, we need to give you a brunch in the morning.
Yeah.
Morning, like 5 a.m. and then maybe a walk and then swimming and spending time with friends and maybe travel at night to a different place.
Yes, that would be amazing.
So I really wanted to thank all of you, and just to let you know, there was a lot of hearts here on Instagram, and some people are also saying thank you in the chat now on Zoom. For me, it was amazing just to meet the both of you because, like I mentioned, it's a personal hobby for me, hobby if you can say, to watch the Olympics and the Paralympics. When I was a kid, I remember buying the Nintendo Wii to do all the things because, of course, my skills are not of an athlete, but I do like sports. And just to be able to talk to someone that actually has that for a living and just to hear how passionate you are about swimming and how you feel free is something very inspiring for me, and I imagine through everyone else, and also to Billy, to have people like you in his team and to see that even if it's a 5 a.m., you are there because you love it and you have goals and you have succeed all of these goals, of course, with pressure in that. But it's an inspiration for me and for the students that are hearing you as well. And there's a lot of people saying now in the chat, great hearing from you both. And also Billy, to be there for her. Sometimes people don't have the luck to have like coaches that they actually like and they actually can understand the hardness of the process. And that sometimes, like I mentioned, the relationship that you have with your team is super important, 100% important to achieve your goals, but also to feel mentally and physically healthy. And I think that's important because maybe she can have the same goals, but she could be feeling very sad or very frustrated or overwhelmed. And you come there, and of course her family and her friends as well. And I really hope to have you in Chile once. You need to let me know. It's very cold. If you want to swim in Chile, it's very cold. But yeah, I just wanted to thank you. And if you want to leave any Instagram or websites or anything, this is the moment as well, so people can follow you if they have any questions, and of course cheer for you in next year.
No, thank you very much to everyone for tuning in, and for Franny as well. We've had a really nice chat, and I'm sure like if anyone sees us around King's College Strand Gym, just come and say hi and chat away to us. But yeah, thank you very much for talking, and all the support, and especially leading into the games next year.
Yeah, thanks, Franny. It's been quite an enjoyable evening, and hopefully that all the participants and all the students listening into this have hopefully got something from it. Thank you.
We definitely have. Thank you so much.
Thank you.